Hi guys, welcome to Moments with Chomba, where we turn ordinary moments into extraordinary lessons. A few Sundays ago, I was having just that. I was having an ordinary moment, watching a movie, just trying to relax, trying to relax, not trying to learn anything. I stumbled across this movie called Little. And in this movie, there's this little girl who's getting bullied as a kid. And she goes to her parents and she asks them, "Why am I being bullied?" And they assure her, they're like, "Guess what? They're only doing this to you because you're little. When you're older, kids like you get to call the shots. You're going to be the boss." And she grows up and she becomes the boss. She's not exactly a nice person. So at some moment in the movie, she engages with this little girl, and they have like a little bit of a moment, and the girl is like, "Have you always been this horrible?" And she's like, "Man, they have like, have you always been this horrible?" And they go back and forth. Anyway, in the end, the little girl says, "You know what? I actually wish you were little." And she goes back and is now a little girl, but with a grown mind. And she obviously has to navigate that. So I thought to myself in that moment, I'm like, how many things would I tell my little self if I had to go back and tell myself as a little girl? What would I tell myself? What little things, what advice would I give what advice would I give my little self? So I'm asking you today, what advice would you give your little self? Take a journal and a pen and write this down. I'm sure you've never thought about this. Like, what would you tell your little self, baby girl? Sir. So I would go back and I think I would be a bit kinder to myself. I would forgive myself more. Um, I would be a bit more experimental and try new things and not be so consumed by routine and, "Oh no, I'm only good at this." I would try out different things. um, I would tell this little girl to believe in herself, that she could be all she's meant to be, and to not be restricted, to not be limited, um, to be a go getter and just go and grab whatever she can. I would tell this little girl that you belong in this room, that you're not an outsider, and that if you feel that this is your space, you can take it. I would tell this little girl to create a garden and make it beautiful and let all the butterflies come to her rather than running after everybody else. I would tell this little girl to just believe in herself, to be a bit more confident, to raise up her hand in class and when she knew the answer and not just keep quiet, to not be afraid, you know. I would tell those girls to be kind to people, to be loving to people, to say that you cannot change people, but you own who you are. I would tell this little girl to be a bit more forgiving, a bit more forgiving, and to realize that in forgiveness lies your greatest power, because then you do not have any bitterness, any malice, anything holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be. And you also don't have any regrets, because you chose to forgive. I would tell her, "Girl, don't try to get even with everybody else, because God will take care of that." So, those are some of the things that I would tell the little me. But I think the biggest lesson I would tell her is just believe in God and trust that the plans that He has for you are good and not of evil, and that in life you will succeed at many things, but you will also fail at many things. And what looks like failure will be your greatest lesson, and that failure is not permanent unless you make it, and that you can be whoever you want to be, and it's okay to pivot, to turn, and to just become who you're meant to be in that season, and not get so stuck in competitions, in trying to prove yourself to people, but rather stay grounded in what God has called you to be and walk your journey. I think that's what I would tell my little self. What would you tell your little self? Hopefully, you can share some of this in the comments. I would love to see that. I'm being bold and asking you guys to share something in the comments. But anyway, those are the little things that I would tell myself with what I know today. So, and I would not give up on the dreams that I had as a little girl in my adult life. I think that's the biggest thing. But anyway, that's it for today. I won't talk too long, but I would suggest that you just write down in your journal and sit down with yourself and say, what things would you tell your little self? And then take that and tell your grown self. Those things, they still apply to you today. Bye.